Hello, in the previous videos you have learned what type of quantities we have in physics and engineering. We have two type of vectors, the two type of quantities, vectors and scalars. Scalars just have some magnitude like age, time, like mass, but vectors have both direction and magnitude. Because of that, the vectors has their own method of adding and subtracting that I'm going to explain. Two methods in this video, and the last method, the component methods, in the upcoming videos. The first method is the method of triangles. Assume you have vector A and vector B and you would like to add them to each other. With the method of triangle, it is easy. You just copy paste vector A or draw a same vector with the same, when we say same vector, I mean same magnitude and same direction. Both should be the same. So parallel to vector A and with the same size from another point, and then draw vector B from the tip of vector A. So in this method you have tip to tail. Then if you draw a vector from the tail of the first vector to the tip of the last vector, then you have the resultant vector. You can apply this method for hundreds of vectors. Just draw them tip to tail and then connect the first tail to the last vector tip, and then you have the resultant. So easy method. The other method is the parallelogram method. In this method, instead of drawing these two vectors tip to tail, you draw tail to tail. So you draw both vectors from the same point, then draw two lines parallel to each vector. Okay, here we have this dashed line. The black one is parallel to A and the blue one is parallel to B, and form a parallelogram shape. Then the big diagonal, the diagonal that you draw from the point that you draw both vectors, would be the summation of vector A and B. So don't forget that we have head to tail and tail to tail. This is the main difference between these two graphical methods, that we call this method geometrical methods because you use drawing to find them. But there is another method that is analytical. In this analytical method, you just directly add components of vector to each other. What are components? In the next video, I will explain how to find the components of vector A and vector B. For example, here, AX is the x component of vector A. AY is the y component of vector A. And even you can go to 3-dimension and add AZ K hat, that later I will explain for you. I hat and J hat are the unit vectors. For vector B, you have Bx I hat plus By J hat, and the calculation is easy here because to find the x component of summation, you just need to add Ax and Bx to each other and Ay and By to each other to find the J hat. In the next videos, I will explain how to find the components of a vector. So now how we can subtract two vectors. Assume you would like to subtract vector B from A. So what you say, you draw vector A from another point if you use the triangle method, but this time instead of drawing vector B from the tip of vector A, you should draw vector minus B or negative of vector B. What is the minus B or negative of vector B? It is a vector exactly at the same size of vector B but in opposite direction. So when you convert the direction of a vector to the opposite side, it is a negative of that vector. And then you can follow the same process you applied for the triangle method. You connect the tail of vector A to the tip of vector B, and you will have the subtraction of these two vectors. The difference between these two vectors is A minus B. So actually we did D equals to A plus minus B. So you're again using the summation, but here you're adding negative of vector B to A. Parallelogram method, that was tail to tail method. So I draw vector negative B from the tail of vector A, and then the same process, drawing two parallel lines to form a parallelogram, and then this would be D equals to A minus B. This is how we calculate the subtraction of vectors. In the next video, I will explain how to calculate the components of vectors. That is very important and essential for some courses like statics and electromagnetics.